starts in 10, 9. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10. The show. Ladies. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7.
It keeps starting over.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go.
Music is just that thing. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About It. Well, tonight we want to have a good discussion here with my co-host Cornel is with me today, and also we have another special guest that's very dear to us, and you guys hear us talk about him all the time, and he haven't been with us in a while. We have Mr. James Legate back with us on this evening. So before we get into our conversation, I'm going to let my co-host Cornell introduce himself, and then we're going to pass it over to Mr. Legate and let Mr. Legate um, introduce himself, and then we're going to get into our conversation for tonight. Cornell, how are you doing this evening?
Ma'am, I'm doing great, ma'am, and thank y'all for having me tonight. It feels good to be your co-host on tonight. Let's talk about it. And yes, ma'am, tonight we're going to have a good show. So thank you very much, ma'am.
Mr. Legate, how are you doing, sir?
Cornel, I am doing great, and it's always a pleasure to be here with you guys. You too, Cornel, how y'all doing?
Okay.
I hope everything's going good. That's good. That's good. I can't wait to get started and see what the topic is because you know me, I'm all in.
You know what? And me and Cornell was talking earlier. I said, when Mr. Legate come on, we'd be trying to figure out his case. But tonight we're going to talk about the situation, the drug situation that's going on inside of these prisons. Me and Mr. Legate spoke a couple of weeks ago on this topic about what's going on inside of the prisons in Texas. We know it's all over, but we want to talk specifically about Texas, the epidemic that's going on in Texas for right now. It's in Atlanta, California. It's just all over. So, Mr. Legate, tell us what's going on.
Well, we have what they call a real bad drug epidemic, what they call K2. I don't even know what it is, to be honest with you. A lot of people say that it's a mixture of all kinds of different chemicals that people are ingesting in here. Sometimes some are getting laced with fentanyl. And numerous people have met their fate and death by smoking this drug. And CDC is doing all kinds of protocols, or they're implementing protocols that are trying to curb the problem. I remember, I think it was last year, but if I'm correct, right, Cornell, that they locked down the whole system-wide unit give a shoot for the whole unit of taking them down, trying to see if they can find whatever drugs they can find. Which they didn't find any, not that I know of, but they found other contraband. But what's bad about this drug is undetectable. You can have dogs, they come around, they try to smell around, but it's undetectable. You know, and I hear people talking about it all the time. They say, man, I had this on me, this dog came up on me, they don't even stood. So, you know, they feel comfortable now because this drug is undetectable. But what they're doing, they implemented the new protocol, which if they find an individual, just one individual, that is like under the influence of this drug, what they'll do is they'll lock down that whole section. First, remove the person that is high, take him to medical, let him calm down, and they'll put the unit that section on lockdown. They call it a 15-day lockdown. In other words, you have no privileges whatsoever. You lose all your visitations. You can't use the phone. No commissary. You know, no nothing. You're just confined to your cell until they give you a shower. And there's no respite. Some of them don't even get respite when it's so hot. They try to ask for respite to go to a pool spot, but they're saying no because you're on a 15-day lockdown. I, on the other hand, you know, I've been lucky as long as I'm in. We don't have that problem. But the buildings, the younger, they've been locking them down. What I don't understand is you're punishing other people for what one offender does. If he's caught smoking, you lock everybody down. And it's fair. In other words, you lose all constitutional rights. I know a guy who filed a grievance regarding it, showing, look, Texas gives me a privilege. And with that privilege, I should be getting notice of the charges held against me. I should be able to present my case and be heard. But you take all this away from me. You know, they take away the support that the family has by coming. And of course, what they're doing is they're creating a hostile environment. By that I mean they're not actually directly telling you to take care of the problem. They're doing it indirectly by causing you to lose all your privileges. For example, say if I haven't seen my mom for like 10, 15 years, and all of a sudden she's going to come and visit me, and just because this one guy here, they locked down the unit that section, now I can't see my mom. She drove down here all this way from, say, Arkansas. I lose that right to see my mom. So of course that's going to anger the person, and they're going to confront this guy, and there's going to be an altercation. And this is what's happening. But the worst part about it is after the guy sobers down, they'll bring him back and put him back in that section, knowing that he might have another episode. He might get high again and cause another 15-day lockdown, which has happened. The guy I'm talking about, he went on 4 lockdowns. Older man now, and he'll tell him, you know, God willing, he used to live to see him. But like his dad said, he goes, I don't know how long I'm going to be here. So what they created this big problem. And to them, when he filed the agreement, they're basically saying, this is PDCJ protocol. You have no constitutional right to a privilege. You don't have no constitutional right to nothing. We're going to punish you for this guy. So in other words, you know what to do if you don't want to get punished. That's how they're bringing this directly to the offender population. And that's a real serious problem. People are getting stabbed on other units. People are getting beat up. I mean, some people, I heard that they got a zero tolerance. And people, like I said, they're just smashing people. But what a lot of these guys don't realize is that the guy that's actually smoking and he gets beat up, if he wanted to, he could press charges on you. So now you have an aggravated assault charge that can, if you want to, stack it on top of the sentence you already have. So if that's the case, then CDCJ is going to say, well, we don't have nothing to do with it, which in truth they don't because they're not condoning you to do that, but they're doing it indirectly by saying, hey, you know, you that guy smoking in there, you know what to do. So, and that's my issue there. I don't know if Cornell, they have the problem over there at the same place where he's at, but I'm pretty sure they have some kind of epidemic going on. But the whole thing is this: is people are dying. They're dying. I've had two people die in my section alone within a month apart, and it's sad, And they expect us to like, why did you do something? I said, well, what do you expect us to do? Your officers are the ones supposed to come around and do their security checks. They're supposed to come in and walk around. Now we're so short of staff that they have a lot of Nigerians working, which I think it's cool. I think everybody should have an opportunity to work. I don't have nothing against them. But the deal is this: is you see them, you go, and they're asleep, or you got their body cam, and something happens with their body cam, and they don't do nothing about it. For example, just about 4 days ago, there was a guy that came in from work. They busted him with a can of peanut butter. Okay, he gets his ID. The guy wants his ID back. The officer, actually, this is what happens. The officer gets on his case and starts beating this guy up. The guy ain't even fighting back. When he's beating him up, he gets his radio and he starts banging him on the head that he busted his head all open, blood all over the place. And they didn't even do nothing to that officer. See what I'm saying? And the next day, I'm out there walking, going to try to go get some cleaning supplies. And that guy, the officer's out there bragging about it. Oh yeah, I beat him up, and I took my radio and started beating him on the head on it. See, this is the type of deals that we're dealing with in here. But the main thing is the epidemic of the drug, and I think it's getting a little more. How can I put it? It's getting a little bit more hostile than anything. So,
Wow.
and that's my.
Cornel wanted to jump in.
Well, I would like to say, man, yes, I do understand because I'm in the prison system, and the corporal punishment, man, is a very serious issue because it jeopardizes the life and safety and the well-being of an inmate. If you're doing something wrong, and other inmates feel that you're doing something wrong, they can beat you up, stab you, and kill you. Okay, well, in the December 24th, Volume 5 of a Slime Authors magazine, I would like to, show that, the Crew podcast and Let's Talk About It has raised concerns about these issues about drugs within our prison system. And I'm going to read to you an article that's written in the Slime Authors magazine. It says, title, Urgent Call for Action, the Escalating Drug Crisis Within the Texas Prison System. In recent years, the Texas Department of Criminal Justice facilities have been grappling with a severe and worsening drug crisis that has resulted in a rising mortality rate among incarcerated individuals. Reports from the State Prison District share situation underscored by increasing instances of drug overdose and related deaths. This alarming trend demands immediate attention and action from both the government, bodies, and society at large. The gravity of the situation. The TDCJ oversees one of the largest prison systems in the United States, housing tens of thousands of individuals. While prisons are typically perceived as controlled environments, the reality is far more complicated. Despite stringent security measures, a variety of illicit substances, including potent, opioid, methamphetamine, and synthetic cannabinoids, find their way inside, often with lethal consequences. Incarcerated individuals who fall prey to the substance abuse face heightened risk, due not only to the substance itself, but also because of the inadequate health resources available within the system. Overcrowding and limited access to health care services and insufficient addiction treatment programs accelerate the crisis, making it a ticking time bomb. Rising death toll. The spike in overdose incidents and related fatality is distressing. Each year, more families are notified of untimely losses that could have been prevented. With timely intervention and better prison management strategies. These statistics are more than just numbers. They represent individuals whose hopes, dreams, and families waiting for their lives to return. The data clearly indicates a systemic failure within TDC to effectively address and mitigate the influx of abuse of the drugs. The lack of comprehensive drug treatment program and preventive measures contribute significantly to these tragedies. So what we're saying is that, the Crew podcast, and Let's Talk About It, has played these issues in the face and the minds of the state representatives, the Texas senators, the legislators, and everybody. But still, it seems that these people are not doing anything or not doing enough to try to curb these crises. Because a lot of kids in here, yes, they're dying from these drug use, Mr. Legate, and the system is falling apart. And all they care about is money, money, money. That's all they care about. But they're not putting the money where the money needs to be to try to prevent these kids from using drugs or to try to get them the help that they need. So yes, I can understand your concerns, Mr. Legate, about what's going on over in your facility because it's going on over here and everywhere else. Recently we pushed the demand for them to come to the state jail Dominguez unit, and yes, they came. The director, the regional director, police officials, the wards, everybody came. Everybody to see what's going on this unit due to the concerns and the complaints being made by the two podcasts, Ms. Angela Thomas Smith and Mrs. Shantee Johnson of Let's Talk About It. So these are things that y'all need to do. Y'all need to come together and get with Miss Angela Thomas Smith and Miss Shantee Johnson and have your families to raise their voices. Because if we don't raise our voices, nothing's going to be done, Mr. Legate, and you know that. So this is what we're asking for y'all to do. Get your families over to contact Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Johnson, and let's see what we can do, okay?
Okay, so
I hear you.
let me jump in real quick. I had to get silenced when you was talking about the officer that beat the man over the head with his radio and went outside, and he bragged about it the next day to fellow officers and stuff. How do you know how that person is doing, Mr. Legate? Do you know if he's okay or?
Well, the only thing I heard is that he wound up getting sent to a hospital to get some stitches done on his head. I really haven't heard from him or heard about him or anything like that. It's like a hush hush deal. And the officer wasn't actually bragging to his coworkers; he was actually bragging to another offender, and that was what was surprising to me. And Cornel, you're right. It's the public needs to actually get involved and try to find out why is this going on. Because I had a proposal that I was going to draft up, and the proposal was to keep every offender, even officers, from carrying papers. The only thing you can actually carry would be your ID. Officers coming in, they can't bring no paper or nothing. In other words, they will supply everything here. But a lot of people are telling me, man, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. And I'm like, why? I mean, why should we not be able to give something that they might, of course they won't probably follow it because it's too good. Because like Cornel, it's all about the money. It's all about the money.
Well,
That's all it is about.
they say I've seen a whole unit. I forgot the unit over there in Texas, the prison that they had shut down because the head person, which was a lady, the sergeant, I believe that's what they call him over there, sergeant. Her and a couple of more officers, they had they said a drug ring where they was bringing the drugs in, and they was making sums of money. I think it was like 7 people was arrested from that prison. Yeah, I seen it on the news, and they always say that it's the guests bring the visitors coming to bring it in, but in reality, if the guards is not making that much money, and they know that they can make they mortgage in one day and taking drugs or cell phones or whatever it may be into the prison, they're going to take that chance. And that's really, to me, that's how the drugs are getting into the prison system. That's how our young men are dying every day or come home with addicted to drugs. If they went in not addicted. Now they are addicted. I was just Google because I like to look at the statistics of what's going on. So the statistics is saying that in Texas alone that 75% of Texas between 2017 and now that 15.8 deaths per 100,000 residents. That's how many people is dying behind um, the drugs that's going in inside of the prison, and it seems like don't nobody care. You know, I always say this to you guys: no matter what your family member may have did to get in there, you guys check on them. Make sure that they are all right. Make sure that they, know, just make sure that they are all right. That no harm is coming to them. Because if we don't check up on our loved ones, they just in there don't the system don't think that we don't care about them.
Okay.
We don't care. That's what they gonna think. But
Okay.
I care. I care.
You know,
Go ahead.
it's sad because I know a lot of families out there. They love their sons, their husbands, their boyfriends, or whatever it may be that they're related to. One of their loved ones that are incarcerated. I know they love them. They want to support them in every way that they can. And but they need to see the red flags when somebody keeps asking and asking for money, asking and asking, hey, send this here or do this or do that. They gotta ask themselves the question, why so much? Why? If
Hmm.
I'm sending you e-com and I'm buying you, sending you nothing to eat, what are you doing with this? Why do you need so much money? You may have an addiction, and by giving him this and continue to give it to him because you love him, it's not going to solve his problem. It's going to make it worse. And then when it makes it worse, it's going to get to the point where he's already gotten so deep, and then you tell him, no, I'm not going to send you no more. By that time, he's probably already in the hole, and then something bad's going to happen to him because now he owes the guy who he's buying it from. And they're probably going to hurt him or whatever the scenario. It's 22 in either way. Either way, they can either die with a drug, they can get beat up and killed because they don't want to pay, or he could just, something worse can happen to him. Like, a lot of people, like, right here, what they're doing is they're labeling the drug dose overdoses as a cardiac arrest. They're blaming it, saying, well, he had a heart attack or he had a stroke or whatever. They're saying that the drug is what caused it. Well, if the drug caused it, you know it's a drug there.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter how you sugarcoat it or however you want to put it. It's a problem. And I think every family that loves their loved one or has a loved one in prison should contact your senator, should contact your representative, should tell them, hey, look, I'm worried about what's going on in CDCJ. Why can't you have the Texas Rangers? Why can't you have anybody go in there and go and investigate? It's not like if they hire professional people to work. I heard that if you go to apply for, if females go to apply for a welfare or whatever, they say, well, look, you can go get a job in CDCJ. You don't know what her life is about, so you don't know if she's about the game, or you don't know if she's just, into this type of love-hate relationship with people in prison.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is they're not professional. The regular Joes probably have a background just like everybody else. They have a background or whatever. They have family that's been incarcerated or whatever the scenario is. But the deal is that they're not. They don't care about you. They're just here to do their job because they have to do it, and that's it. Period. If they sit in the picket, yes, they can sit in the picket, for hours and not come in the room or like I said, do their security rounds and stuff like that.
But
because TDCK and even the body cams, like I said, they don't work for nothing. They have body cams, but they're worthless. What good are they?
you know what, Mr.
You know,
Legate?
like I said,
Maybe they doing. Maybe they tampering with the body cameras. They should. The money that they spend on them, they should be working. And
they should be.
when you was talking about them going into debt, I follow a group of family members, wives, mothers, that have sons and loved ones over there in prison. And which one lady, she did post in the group that she wanted to call up there to the prison and let them know that, hey, my child is getting drugs, and point the person out and all of this stuff, but they advised her not to do it. But and she just went on and said that he's in so much debt with this person, and she's scared that her child is going to lose his life because she can't afford to pay it.
And that's sad. That's sad. And see what the mom is going through, or it could be the wife, it could be anybody. You know, and it's sad. I mean, you know, like Cornel's been locked up a long time. I'm going on 27 years now for something I didn't do. But I've noticed throughout these years that, people come in, the whole world has changed. The day that I get released, or the day I get to walk out, I'm not going to know the state that I left. But I know the phone is going to hang up, and I wish I could call you back. But I'm having some problems right now. But it was good, and I thank you all for having me. And I love you all. And I just pray that the people out there in the world can talk to your congressman, call your representatives, find out what's going on, see if y'all can do something about this to help others that might be having these problems. And
Thank you,
then thank you,
thank you so much.
Cornel. Thank you. I love you all.
Okay,
Y'all
Mr.
be
Legate.
careful.
We're gonna be in touch.
I thank you, and I hope to come on soon again. All right.
Yeah, we're gonna be in
Okay, sir.
touch with you.
It did say 1 minute, right?
Yes, we said 1 minute.
Okay.
We love you, Mr. Legate, and you are in our thoughts and prayers. And I will be reaching out to you soon.
Thank you for using.
Okay.
All right.
Goodbye.
Mr. Nett, see, this is basically some very serious conversation right here. Because, our elected officials, man, if they wanted to, they can do better by these individual inmates being incarcerated. Okay, if an individual gets caught smoking some drugs, man, they should set up a facility where they know that there's no drugs being able to come into that facility. And that individual should be placed into that facility. It's like a detox, where that individual will be put in that facility where they know that he will not be able to get to no drugs at all. And allow him to stay there for at least 2 weeks to 30 days.
Okay,
At least 30 days.
I have a question for you, brother. So we
Okay?
put on they come up with a program like that.
Okay.
We know half of the time that the CEOs is bringing it in there. What's
Okay.
going to keep them from bringing the drugs into that facility?
Okay. Well, see, this type of facility would be actually ran by a certain type of officer. Okay. And it would be monitored by officers who are actually being given drug tests and are actually strip searched as they come in to ensure that they are not bringing in any drugs into that facility. And not only that, they will have smoke detectors to determine if anybody finds like anything in there. And the smoke detector will go off, notifying them that yes, somebody in here has a lighting option. Okay. So with that being said, man, this type of a facility can be established if PDC wanted it to be established. So with that, we should push the laws for our representatives and our lawmakers and TDC officials, and the mental health and UCM being all these people to design a program like this and to help them people get the help that they need through mental counseling, through monitoring, through mentorship, and yes, it can happen
Do
if
they
they
have
wanted it to.
do they have any drug programs like counseling? Like, can they take classes?
Well, you know what, man? They only give you like a certain 5 hour class for like when you first come in. You see a film. The film is to basically try to deter you from using drugs. Okay, but then they got AA class. Then they got anger management class. That's what the class is that they're put up in right now. To talk to us about the use of drugs and the use of alcohol and stuff like this. Well, these types of facilities are classified as rehabilitative facilities. But these facilities are not giving us the tools and the resources that we need to keep us from using drugs, to teach us about the importance of using drugs, to teach us about the importance of the chemical makeup of opioids and methamphetamines and cannabinoids and stuff like this. And see, if kids have these types of, 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 of tools available to them, I'm quite sure, man, that a whole lot would change. But the CDC officials and the government and our state officials are not trying to put these processes in place. So now these kids are just hooked on drugs daily, and they're dying daily, man.
So
This is very sad.
I was just telling Mr. Legate that I follow a couple of groups. I also follow Texas Department of Correction, and they've been posting that they've been having young people graduating from getting their GED, carpentry, like life skills that they've been, and they have them up there with certificates and they cap and gown on. Is that true, or is they just giving us a false narrative?
Oh no, ma'am, that is true. Okay, but these same individuals who are graduating from these types of programs, man, that don't mean that they're not using drugs. You know what I'm saying? So the issue is that they're just being allowed to graduate because it makes CDC officials look good. That these people got these types of programs in place for rehabilitation purposes. But the rehabilitation programs don't work. They don't mean anything. Why? Because when a person come up for parole, the parole board will set you off 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times and claim that your rehabilitation is not an accurate reflection of your institutional assessment. So really, they're just basically beating dead horses over here, man, within our facilities. Because our parole board system is not communicating with the classification division. The classification division is not communicating with the rehabilitation division. What's some of this? We have all these individuals right here waiting to go home for parole. They won't even release. Why? Because it's about money.
Mm-hmm.
It's about money, Mr. N. And this is sad. But if you give some of these guys something to hold on to and incentive to work for, yes, ma'am, they'll do better. But they don't give them nothing.
And that
All they can do is sit around. Okay?
and that is so true. That's why I asked, do they offer programs? You know, just to have just to be sitting around not doing nothing, or I mean, not exercising. I believe some of Mr. Holiday said he goes out and he work out and stuff. But then after working out, he's just sitting around.
That's right, doing nothing. See, that's the problem. Our state is not giving these individuals nothing to do. All they can do is do time. That's all they're doing. So now, the more time they do, the more stressful they become because they want to go home. They don't have nothing to prepare them to go home. So now they're stressing. And now they turn to drugs. They turn to alcohol. They turn to gang activity. They turn to all of these things to try to help them cope with being incarcerated behind prison walls. And then you raise a parole board system that's broken. You got a re-entry program that's not even working. They don't even try to give these kids nothing to even reach for. No outside resources, no housing, no way of trying to make no type of funds to be able to reintegrate back into society. So right now we're just dealing with a whole broken system of government officials who don't even care now
Well,
about
we,
what's going on within our system.
well, we seen that they don't care by the way they had y'all unit over there looking, and they just got a grant for $1 million to take care of it, and they drug their feet to even give you guys clean water or hot water and working urinals and stuff.
And thank you, and that's true, ma'am. You're right. But see, it wasn't until you and Mrs. Angela Smith of the Crew Podcast pushed emails to our state representatives, our Texas senators, our government officials, rehabilitation division, everybody, to let them know that the state jail facility here is unconstitutional and that it's unconditional. The conditions are bad. Well, they came. I can witness that. They did come over here. I'm talking about like 40 of them. And they came for the whole 2 weeks that we've been here. And they have fixed everything, man. And they still fixing stuff right to this day.
What about the water?
Yes, ma'am. They got the shower hall windows closed where they put trays in. They are no longer allowed to wash no trays in the trash cans over there. So as far as the water, ma'am, they're working on the water right now. So, you are absolutely right about that. Because the water is contaminated.
Well, thank God they don't stop washing the trays and trash cans.
Well, ma'am, they got the window closed. They got a board up on that window, believe me. When you stick your trays in that, no longer are they doing that. They got buckets and they dropping, they emptying their food out in some trash cans, and they putting their trays into the big old long buckets, and they washing them in hot water. So that's what they're doing with them. Where they washing them at, I have no idea. But we know that they're not being washed in that kitchen where they was washing them at.
Wow.
So we know, ma'am, that advocating, it works, ma'am. If we're all on the same page, ma'am, and we're advocating for the issues that matter. Drug crisis within our facility, our parole board system, our broken judicial court system.
Yeah.
People being wrongfully and overly incarcerated. Juveniles being sentenced to life sentences without parole. People are being sentenced without competency hearings. People sitting on death row without competency hearings, having to be executed, waiting 15, 20 years just to be executed for crimes they didn't commit. Issues that need to be addressed, these people are not addressing them no more. You don't even hardly hear about them no more, man.
Right. And speaking on death row, within the last month, within April, I believe Texas executed 3 or 4 men back to back. Every week they was executing someone.
Yes, ma'am.
Every week.
Okay, but these individuals are mostly under the Texas law of party, which means that they didn't commit the crime. Somebody else committed the crime. They are just being held criminally responsible for the conduct of another person. So because of that, Texas is not providing any way out of allowing them people to prove their innocence. They just being executed for something somebody else done. And then on top of that, these people are not being given a psychological evaluation to determine whether or not they meet the requirements to be executed. Because if they're not over the percentage of 70% on an IQ or EA score, they cannot be executed, man. But how many people have they given this test to? A small percentage, man.
Right.
So what we're saying now is that there's a lot of things that can be done and we push for them to be done. Now, we can go and push for laws for them to go over there and do a psychological evaluation on all of the death row inmates, and I guarantee you 75 to 80% of them people did not have a psychological EA score to be placed upon 70 to be executed. And that would mean that each one of them people are entitled to a whole new trial, man, and that they cannot be executed. These are issues that matter.
But
Texas law party is the same way.
We're not all the ones that's call themselves advocating for justice.
Advocating, yes, ma'am.
We're not there. Well, we're not. We know what page we're on.
Yes, ma'am.
But they're not. They too busy want to sell calendars, T-shirts, all other things, but they're not pushing the issues of what's going on inside of the prisons. They're not pushing the issue of the wrongful convictions, the men that's and women that are actually innocent of crimes sitting in prison. They're not pushing that. Or, you know, they only helping people that they know. They're not helping nobody
Okay.
else.
Okay. And that you said that, ma'am, I was just thinking this, that we should eliminate the conviction integrity unit and take that process totally out of the hands of the district attorney's office and place that process in the hands of normal, regular civilians who are not biased towards the individual whose case is being reviewed. Here we should establish an anti-corruption task force, man, to be able to review cases of people being wrongfully convicted behind scams of double billing, judge misconduct, lawyer misconduct, DA misconduct, evidence misconduct, stuff like this. Just like Mr. Legate's case. That guy has been wrongfully convicted for a crime he did not commit. And the system knows he didn't commit the crime. But no one is coming forward to help this man prove he's innocent. Instead, they let him rot away in the prison system until he died for a crime they know he did not commit.
So I went on a prison show, and and I told them about Mr. Legate. You have Mr. Legate sitting that's there that you guys can look into his case and look at his documentary, and you will see that Mr. Legate is an innocent man. You can read the newspaper clippings of them saying Mr. Legate is not no hit man, and people laughing at him. Oh, Mr. Legate was a repo man.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, but look at where Mr. Legate come from, man. Mr. Legate come from San Antonio, Texas, man, Bear County. And in San Antonio, Texas, Bear County, it is the worst corruption city in Texas. It is the worst. Why? Because they got double billing of attorneys being paid double the amount of money. They got judges assigning these attorneys to represent these individuals. They got lawyers, ma'am, actually allowing their clients to be prosecuted for crimes they know they didn't commit. The case of Angus McGinty, the judge said yes. All of us judges in Bear County are corrupt, and that we have been bribed by these attorneys to do things that are unethical. He said, yes, I got a line of judges' names, but guess what they did? They sealed all of the records for Mr. Angus McGinty's statement.
Yes, they did.
They sealed the records.
Yes,
So this way they cannot reveal who these judges are. So now the question is this, why would they do that? And not only that, how many people have been wrongfully convicted behind these scams that these people have in place? Sitting no death row, man. So what do? How do we go back and fix these problems? Let's talk about it. We say, what is wrong with our criminal justice system and how do we fix it? So for anybody who's listening to this podcast tonight, that's the key. What's wrong with our criminal justice? And how do we fix it? What do we do? Like we said, we come together. As opposed to advocating separately, we advocate together. We stand as one. Because if we cannot stand together for something, we stand alone for nothing. And that's what we talk about on Let's Talk About It.
And then,
the Crew Podcast.
Also, brother, we also got to get out and vote.
Okay.
We're the ones to put them judges in there. We're the one. So if we just go to the polls and just don't care and just check off instead of reading about that judge going into their background, then we're just as guilty as the judge is. We just put anybody in there on them chambers, anybody to look over the juvenile justice system, and the juveniles is getting it. They hanging them tough with life sentences.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Yes, ma'am.
we got to do more as a people.
A country.
Yeah. We
Yes,
worried
as a
about
people. You're right.
the wrong thing. We're worried about the wrong thing. They want to spill hate and all of this stuff. You know what? We need to come together.
Yes, ma'am.
And we have to
That's
fight
true.
as one.
Yes, ma'am.
Make our voices as one.
Okay, since you said that, ma'am, here's what an idea that I am trying to pitch. I would like to try to establish nothing but the truth Texas tour. Okay, to be able to gather as many support groups and advocacy groups and people as we can together and see if we can go from county to county and demand, or go to our state representatives, our capital, and demand for these important issues that we're talking about to be addressed. To make them put these issues on the ballot. Even if we have to contact the Department of Justice to bring them down here to conduct an independent investigation into these counties. We have the power to do it.
Yes, we do. But you know what, Cornel? Look at our administration that's in there now.
Okay.
The Department of Justice.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't stop looking at the news because all of them giving me headaches with the little stuff that they saying what they really don't know they don't even know the system. She just in there just filling out stuff, just saying crazy stuff. And then the commercial she done made, it's gonna
Okay.
be me and you, Cornel, as Angela said, it's gonna be me and you.
Well, ma'am, I'm ready for it. You can believe that, ma'am. Believe me. The True Podcast, and let's talk about it. Y'all have given me a voice. And I really appreciate y'all because this is something that I have always wanted to do. Why? Because I have been incarcerated for over 40 years of my life in the prison system. And I have seen it go from the baddest, from the worstest to the worstest, man. So like I said, I'm ready for this. And I have a voice now. And I'm willing to stand up to whoever is willing to stand up against me and with me. And I will be there. I'll go sit on the doorstep of the Capitol and explain every issue that I have learned about within our criminal justice system. The law parties, the federal scandals, judge donation campaigns, the double billing scam. I have learned a lot, man. And I am willing to put these issues on the ballot and explain them and show how these issues are unconstitutional. Grand jury indictments and capital punishments and stuff like this. So, man, whenever you're ready, I'm ready. Soon I get to the other side, you will be hearing from me. And we will start preparing our little issues to start up the tour. And that's what we're going to do.
Well,
so, thank you very much, man.
And if any of you guys out there want to join Cornel and I, reach out to us. Because we're serious about this. We have to save our young people because that's our future, and we don't want our young people to perish. We got to change these laws. They everybody deserves a second chance. Now some of them don't. You know what? Sometimes we have to draw the line somewhere. But some of them we really have to be cautious of, and when me and Cornel are going over cases and stuff, we're just not bringing anybody out here showing, putting their cases out there. I talk to Cornel and Cornel look up their case, and if he say no, then no it is. because their cases are public records and stuff. And we do have some that will share that be ready to send you their cases because to prove their innocence. And then we do have some that's not willing to share. And we do look at them cases. Don't we, Cornell?
Yes, ma'am, we do, ma'am. And all we seek is nothing but the truth. That's what we want. If you're innocent, you are innocent. If you have evidence to prove you're innocent, let's talk about it. Is willing to put your story out there and to have the public to make a decision on whether or not they choose to get involved. If you're honest about really wanting the help that you need, reach out to Let's Talk About It. Reach out to the Crew Podcast. Read and not only that, all the magazines and issues that the Crew Podcast and the Creative Collaboration has published, because in each of her magazines there are very powerful topics before we in these magazines. Aspiring Authors Magazine by Angela Coleman Smith. Please go order these magazines.
Yes.
Not only that, whatever you need, if it's about mental health, if it's about any situation that you're dealing with, reach out. Reach out to the Crew Podcast. Reach out to Mrs. Angela Coleman Smith. Reach out to Mrs. Shanette Jones of Let's Talk About It. They will give you the help that you need. And if not, they'll find the help that you need and put you in the right direction to get.
Yes.
But you have to be willing, you have to be ready, and you have to want this. And for all of these advocacy groups, if you are willing to stand up and advocate for what you call justice, let's talk about the real issues that matter. And let's come together and talk about it. Because it's not about you. It's about all of us as one. Because if we can't stand together for something, we do stand alone for nothing.
Yes.
And that's what Cornel Drummer is saying. That is our cue on Let's Talk About It. So thank you very much, ma'am, for having me. And I look forward to being here anytime you need.
Okay. And before we close out, because we do only have 8 minutes left, this month is Men's Month, Father's Day, and we do have a lot of men that's incarcerated. So we're going to our next show. I've been doing research on that, and the numbers are unbelievable. Join us on the 16th. I believe our next one is on the 16th for that one, and we're going to talk about the men. We're going to talk about we're going to talk about the breakdown of the Black family. We're going to talk about that. Also, if you have a loved one or you just want to purchase the book was just released, I believe, 2 days ago. I Am My Brother's Keeper by Angela Thomas Smith. It's 4 of us in that book. Send it to one of your loved ones that's currently incarcerated. I believe it's like a devotional. I've seen it, but I haven't really took the time to go through it because of my work schedule. But I'm going to go through it this evening. Go on Amazon. You can reach out to Angela to purchase it. You can reach out to me to purchase it. There's so many ways to purchase that book. Make sure that the book get in. We want the book inside of the prisons. Also, send it to our youth that are in juvenile hall. They can read it, because we are our brother's keepers, whether we like it or not. We are their keepers, and we got to keep our brothers and sisters lifted up in prayer and just constantly speaking life into them, even though they think their life is gone. Some of them think there may be failures and stuff, but we got to speak life into them. The power of life is in our tongue, and the tongue is the only thing on our body that doesn't have a bone. We have to speak life into one another and stop speaking death upon each other. Any final words, Cornel?
Well, yes, ma'am. I would like to call out anybody especially the Texas exonerees and anybody who has a loved one who's been exonerated or anyone who knows somebody who's been exonerated. Stand up and come together and let's challenge these systems. Bring people together, okay, so that we can address, the issues that's affecting our criminal justice system. The drug crisis and the issues of, people dying in our prison system. Challenge these advocacy groups to find out what they're doing. Get involved with them. To find out if they're addressing the issues that matter to you and your family. So that way we can all be on the same page and in one accord. Because if it's just about being a nonprofit organization just to get nonprofit dollars, guess what? That ain't nothing. You know, you're doing nothing. All you're doing is trying to enrich yourself off the backs of citizens of the state of Texas or anybody. So if anybody who's listening to this podcast
We
tonight,
have 1 minute left.
get involved and bring your family and advocacy groups together and let's come on and let's do this. So thank you very much, man, for having me. And I look forward to being with you on the 15th. So
Okay.
thank you people for listening.
I'll see you later. And this is my last call. This came to me. Cash is she's a baby. I don't know how old she is, but she's in dire need of a heart.
Oh wow.
If you guys are listening, go to the Crew podcast. I believe the information is up on there where you guys can donate. Angela and them is going to Chicago, and I would like for us to let's talk about it. Family to send something to support that family, and also to push it up
Thank you
where
for
she can
using.
get up on the transplant list. I'm gonna post the information on the Let's Talk About It. I believe Angela is posting it up now. You guys, please, anything helps. Please. I mean, let's do this for this family. Let's send donations in to baby Cash. This is dear to me because my son passed of a heart condition. It'll be 19 months on the 10th. Please support Cash. There's the information up there. Cash Heart. There's her information up there on the screen. Please take it down and let's show our support. Let's stand with this mother, with this family, with baby Cash, and send them some love. I thank you guys for joining me on this evening. I really, really love you guys. Stay blessed and stay safe. Until next time, love you.